Can't believe how heavy this thing is. Here goes my microphone. Hey guys, welcome to Mad Scientist BBQ. I'm Jeremy Yoder, and today we're doing something I don't think I've ever done on the channel. Well, actually, I know I've never done on the channel. We're cooking a beef shoulder clod. A lot of you guys might know it from places like Kreitz Market down in Lockhart, Texas. This is not an item that makes it into the backyard very often, but I thought, for the sake of science, I must do it. So, let me get this thing out of the box and see what it looks like. The box says it weighs 74.5 pounds, I think. Where does it say? The box says 74.4 pounds. Check it out. Let's open this thing up. There's more than one in here. I was like, I thought a shoulder clod was like a third of that or something. 75 pounds, my eyebrow. Ugh. Now this looks more like it. That is one beef shoulder clod. Greater Omaha, Black Angus. We got 3 in here. All right, these are gonna go in the freezer because I don't need to cook 75 pounds of meat. I might try different cooking methods on these based on how this one goes. But this is an experiment. I'm not telling you this is exactly how you need to do it. But hopefully this gives you information to make choices about the future. Now, this meat is significantly cheaper than brisket. And if it's close to as good, you might have found a cheaper way to get incredible barbecue, and you don't have to compete with people trying to snag a Creekstone prime brisket for 200 bucks or anything like that. So, back in the freezer, we'll open this up and get started. This massive cut comes from not very far from the brisket. So the brisket is like the chest muscle of a cow. The shoulder clod comes from higher up, and it's actually got 5 distinct muscles, actually probably more than that, but I think 5 distinct cuts in it. A few of those cuts are taken out and sold separately sometimes, and the rest is usually used for stew or ground beef, which tells you it's not going to be super tender. But we're going to cook it low and slow, barbecue style. We're going to make it smoky. We're going to get it tender by cooking it for a long time and breaking down all that connective tissue, rendering fat, doing all those things that make barbecue special. So we're going to see how this turns out. I'll probably trim up some of this fat that's on the top. Anything that's thin, I'll probably remove. And then I'm going to season heavily with salt because this thing is 25 pounds. It is absolutely humongous. So heavy salt, heavy black pepper, and then we're going to throw it on the smoker and see how it turns out. What I want to find out is whether or not beef shoulder clod is falling out of favor because it's no good, or is it falling out of favor because it takes a long time to cook. I don't know of any barbecue restaurants that aren't in Lockhart that are cooking beef shoulder clod. I'm sure there are some out there. I'm sure I've been to some and I've just forgotten. But I know Kreitz Market, places like that, they're doing shoulder clod, whereas Franklin Barbecue and other members of the top 50 Texas monthly list aren't really doing shoulder clod so much, at least not that I know of. So I want to find out, is this a difficult cut to get right? Is this just not a very good cut to cook barbecue style? Is it worth it, essentially? Because this is about half the price of brisket from my meat supplier. So if we can make something that's almost as good for half the price, it sounds like a winning option, especially with a lot of people feeling the crunch of increased grocery prices. So let's get started. Marbling there isn't bad. And then a little bit of Mad Scientist BBQ brisket rub. Never get used to the pepper. When I realized I had multiple attempts at cooking this shoulder clod, there are 3 in that case, I decided I want to do this first one on a pellet grill because that'll give me a good baseline and it'll keep temperatures really consistent. I was going to do it on an offset, but that will probably involve me managing the fire for the next 20 hours. And I hope you'll forgive me. I'm going to use a pellet grill. I'm going to make life easier on myself. And we're just going to track it throughout the cook. And that'll give me a good baseline if I want to do it on an offset, or if for some other reason I want to never cook it again, or if I find out it's awesome, whatever. This is going to be an easy way to find out what I make of this cut. Ho ho! The way we have this set up right now, we're burning knotty wood almond pellets, and if you come over here and look, I have a full split of pecan directly above the fire pot. You can use chunks, you can use pellets, you can use splits, whatever you want, but you can really dial up the smoke. So I want to try this on a huge cut like a beef shoulder clod and see how much the smoke flavor comes through. But let's close this down and see what we make. We're going fat side up because the heat comes from the top. We're going to go 200 and super smoky for probably the first 4 hours. Then we're probably going to dial it up to 250 for the next couple hours, then 275, maybe even 300. It all depends on how it looks. I'll update you along the way. All right, we're coming up on 4 hours in. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so 4 hours in, I'm really quite pleased with that. It looks like it's got really good bark. That small split that we put in there seems to have really worked. Hopefully it's got great flavor. And now we still got a long cook ahead of us. The internal temp is just a little over 100 degrees in the thickest part. So I'm guessing this is probably gonna be somewhere around a 17, 18 hour cook. So I'm gonna bump this up to 275. We're gonna let it rock at that temperature until it's time to wrap. It's so hard running the fire on these pellet grills. I don't know how people do it. I mean, it's just so intense, requires so much effort. I mean, it really is the pitmaster's burden, you know, but I'm willing to do it for you guys. As you can see, right now it's a little dark. Apologize for that, but now I want to give you guys an update. This thing has been on here for approaching 7.5 hours now, and I want to show you kind of what it looks like. The internal temp right now is about 170 degrees, which I kind of found astonishing. This thing's really cooking quite quickly for how humongous it is. But let's take a look at that, and then I'm going to use this RFX wireless meat thermometer. So you guys may be familiar with similar products, but this one works through 1/4-inch thick steel, all kinds of other stuff. It's from ThermoWorks. I'm going to put it in here, and that way I can monitor the temp of that shoulder clod remotely from inside. Once it gets to about 180, 190, I'll probably evaluate it one more time, and I might take it either all the way through unwrapped, I might wrap in foil, I might wrap in paper, just depending on how it looks. But I want to show you guys what it looks like right now. And by the way, link in the description if you're interested in ordering one of these. Pulling out my handy dandy flashlight, let's take a look at this thing. It kind of looks like a monstrous brisket. It really doesn't look bad at all. Now I'm tracking it in the app. See you guys tomorrow. Okay guys, it's the next day. At about 3:30 this morning, I got a notification that this thing was done. So I came out, pulled it off the pellet grill, put it in the warmer. It's had a nice Texas restaurant style rest. And it's time to see if this thing is gonna be a way to save money and get great barbecue, or is this a huge chunk of meat that's a waste of time? All right, this kind of looks, I don't know. This kind of looks like a brisket that my mama had made one time back when I was just a boy. She used to make them crock pot ribs. All right, this kind of looks like a huge brisket. If it tastes as good as a huge brisket, then maybe we're in business. Let's unwrap it, take a look. It doesn't look bad, to tell you the truth. I added a little bit of tallow, just probably 2 tablespoons of tallow to the top of this thing, because I didn't wrap in tallow like I usually do, because I wanted to see what this thing is going to be like, because I didn't know if this is going to turn into something soupy and, you know, just turn into a big pot roast. But this is a learning process, and we're here to learn. So let's get this thing sliced up. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not sure what the proper way is to slice a shoulder clod. Typically with a brisket you have 2 muscles. With this we have 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it in half and then make some decisions from there. Does it look good? No? Let's just try to take a slice right out of here. Oops. That looks good. All right, here's what we got. So some parts are definitely more done than others. Certain muscles are going to be more tender than others. It doesn't look too dried out, but ultimately it comes down to the taste. Let's see. Let's see if I can slice a chunk here. Just gonna shred it a little bit. Let's try something from here. Wow. That's 50 times better than I was expecting. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I sliced the thing up and I was like, oh no, this is gonna be so gross. There's just gonna be this pot roasty mess. But that's really freaking good. Erica, you wanna try it? Yeah, try this chunk. Pepper strong.
Wow. That's really good.
Yeah. All right, so far, looks unimpressive, tastes delicious. I'm gonna eat another bite and then try to cut some from different parts. Here you guys can see, this looks gross, but this is that broken down connective tissue that makes it super juicy. All right, let's try this again. It's so good. All right, let's try a different muscle. Let's try from the end here. This looks like it'd be something like burnt ends. We see this bark on the top is rendered really well. Then we got a little bit of a smoke ring, then we got juicy meat underneath. I think this is about as close as we're gonna get to burnt ends on a shoulder clod. Look at the stickiness on the fat there. Not bad. It's phenomenal. So good. Here, I could try this.
Wow.
Isn't it good?
It tastes like really good brisket.
It tastes like really good brisket. It's leaner than point, but juicier than flat.
Yeah.
The texture is halfway in between a brisket flat and a brisket point. The juiciness is halfway in between.
Yeah, you're right.
I've tried brisket alternatives that are cheaper, like chuck roast. This is definitely superior to chuck roast. So now what I'm thinking to myself is, I want to master exactly how to cook this. This one I went unwrapped the whole time because I didn't want it to turn into a soupy mess in the wrap. What I would do is I would treat this pretty similar to a brisket. I might push it just a little bit further. I might take it to 190 or something and then wrap it in some paper and tallow just to soften things up. But in terms of flavor and cost, this thing is really performing far above my expectations. Let's cut this in half and see what we're working with on this side. Here we have this end. You think, oh, that looks dry, but is it? Is it really dry? I don't think so. All right, let's try a bite of this. Let's not do that. Try a bite of this. Let's do some of this. So this one is overcooked for sure. Ooh, that bark is so good. Okay, so let me give you my thoughts here. This is actually a phenomenal cut of meat. I don't know why more people don't cook this. Maybe it's just because it's gonna take so long to cook. I want to repeat this with one of the others on an offset just to see if we can dial in exactly how to get it right. If you're somebody who likes lean brisket, I think this is the choice because instead of the flat being, you know, an inch or two thick, you have this humongous chunk of meat. It's a little bit leaner than brisket point, but it is packed with flavor. The texture is super nice. I mean, overall, I am really, really happy with this test. So I think I want to do this again on an offset smoker, maximize flavor. I'll probably wrap it in tallow, do it very similar to brisket, and instead of taking it to 203-ish degrees to be finished, like a brisket, I think this has to cook a little bit less. So I'm thinking maybe 195 to 198 because 203, 204 is overcooked on this thing. I'm gonna get my daughter out here and see what she thinks.
Daddy,
What?
is the smoker still hot?
No.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not right now. You can touch it right now.
no thank you, Dad.
No, look. It's cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is fun.
Is it fun?
Yeah.
All right, Emma. What is this?
Brisket.
Maybe. Why don't you take a bite? Tell me what you think, okay?
Brisket.
You think it's brisket?
Uh-huh.
You want to take another bite just to see? What would you rather have, this or steak?
This. Shoot.
This?
There was a fly on the...
I know, those freaking flies.
Can I have another taste, please?
You sure can.
Daddy,
What?
what's your favorite food?
I don't know. That's a good question. What's your favorite food?
Meat. Can I have one more piece, please?
So did we find a cheaper alternative to brisket? Certainly looks that way. I'm going to do some more testing. I'll probably cook a few of these, and once I get a method dialed in, I'll make a video, and then I'll share it with all you guys so that you guys can get great food without having to break the bank. Because that's what barbecue is about. Barbecue is about using cheap cuts that other people didn't want and making incredible food. So this really looks like a winner, and I wonder if we're going to see a renaissance at some point in the future of cooking shoulder clod in the Texas barbecue world. Who knows? We're going to find out. But if they do, I'm there for it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere at Mad Scientist BBQ. I'll see you guys next time.